Hi folks, HR Funk here, out on this last day of November 2019 to bring you the 26th installment in my series on Law Enforcement Qualification Course Challenge videos. Now if you've not seen any of these videos up to this point, what I'm attempting to do is to fire a law enforcement firearms qualification course from each of the 50 states for the purpose of comparing and contrasting those courses and ultimately determining what I think is the best law enforcement firearms qualification course in the country. As I said, this is the 26th installment, and course number 26 comes to us from the state of Maine. Specifically, our course today comes to us from the Maine Criminal Justice Academy. This is a 50-round course of fire that is divided into 7 stages that take place at distances as close as 3 yards from the target and as far away as 25 yards from the target. The course has an 80% qualification standard, which means when I'm done, at least 40 of the 50 shots that I'm about to fire have to be inside of this white bottle-shaped area on the cue target back here on the target board. For instructor proficiency, the score has to be 45 out of the 50 shots inside of that same area. Now I don't know about all of you, but when I think of Maine, I think of large animals and hardy people living up there in the extreme northeast corner of the country. So that also makes me think of a large firearm chambered for a stout cartridge. So today's challenger is my Rock Island Armory FS Ultra 1911 pistol, chambered for the 10mm cartridge. And I'm going to get things set up and ready to go, and we'll pit the FS Ultra against the Maine Handgun Qualification course starting in just a moment. And here we go, folks. The main course starts out at a distance of 25 yards from the target, and from this distance I'm going to fire from 3 different positions behind cover. On the signal to fire, I have to draw and fire 2 rounds into the body of the target from a standing position. Then I kneel down and fire 2 more rounds into the body of the target from a kneeling position. Then I move into a prone position and fire 2 more rounds into the body of the target from that prone position. Now this stage has a time limit of 20 seconds, but there is something written above this stage to help clarify that time limit, and this also applies for the next stage, which will be fired from a distance of 15 yards. And what this says is, course emphasis at 15 and 25 yard line is accuracy and safe movement from position to position. Times are a guide as to how long it should take. So the way I interpret this is, if a shooter exceeds the time limit in this stage or the 15-yard stage, that really does not count against that shooter. Really what they're looking for here is just accuracy in this longer distance shooting. So I am going to try to get these shots all off within the appropriate time limits for both of these stages, but I wanted to make sure everyone knows that is what's written out in the course description with regard to the time limits. Oh, and one of my 6 shots from 25 yards managed to go just wide of the target. The other 5 were all in there. They were fired within the 20-second time limit. So now it's time to move on to the 15-yard stage and see how things go from there. For the next stage of this course, the shooter begins in a ready position. On the signal to fire, the shooter has to assume a position of cover and fire 3 shots into the body of the target from the right side of cover, then transition to the left side of cover and fire 3 more shots, and then fire 3 shots over top of cover, all within a time limit of 25 seconds. Now the same caveat applies to this stage that applied to the 25-yard stage, that being the time is essentially suggestive as to how long the stage should take, but the shooter does not appear to be penalized if he or she exceeds that time limit. And I'm grouping them a little bit low in that stage, but they're all still staying within the proper scoring area of the target. So all those shots are good. Once again, they were in the time limit. By the way, part of the reason these are down here is because that was an awfully awkward stage with all the moving around my position of cover back there and trying to lean out around and actually get a good sight picture and squeeze these off. I'm just glad they're all still in the scoring area of the target. So anyway, on to the next stage, and we'll see how things go from there. For the third stage of this course, I'm set up at a distance of 10 yards from the target. From here, I fire two different drills. The first begins with the firearm in the holster, and on the signal to fire, I have to draw and fire 3 rounds into the body of the target in a time limit of 3 seconds. I then go to a low ready position, and on a second signal to fire, I have to fire a failure drill, which is 2 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head in a time limit of 4 seconds. All 6 of those shots are good. The headshot is right in the medulla. So now on we go to the next stage, and I'll try to keep things going from there. Stage 4 is fired at a distance of 7 yards from the target. And from here, I fire the exact same drill 3 times in a row. In this drill, I begin with the firearm holstered, and on a signal to fire, I have to draw and fire 3 rounds into the body of the target in a time limit of 3 seconds. As I said, that drill is repeated 2 times, so when I'm all done, I will have fired 9 rounds during this stage. And for the next stage, I'm up to a distance of 5 yards from the target. From here, I fire the same drill twice in a row. Both of those start with the pistol in the holster. On the signal to fire, I have to draw and fire 3 shots into the body of the target in a time limit of 3 seconds. For stage number 6, I'm up to a distance of 3 yards from the target. From here, I fire 3 different drills. All of these start with the pistol in the holster. On the first one, on the signal to fire, I have to draw and fire 1 shot into the body of the target in a time limit of 1 second. On the second drill, I have to draw and fire 2 shots into the body in a time limit of 2 seconds. And for the third drill, I have to fire 3 shots into the body of the target in a time limit of 2 seconds. So here we go. One second, right on the money. I kind of impressed myself with that one. .94 second for those 3 shots. So all those were off within the time limits, and those were some tight time limits, folks. Final stage of this main course, folks, which is good because it's starting to get dark out here. In this stage, I fire the same drill essentially 3 times in a row. For each drill, I begin at the 15-yard line, and on the command threat, I start to advance on the target while verbalizing my ID and giving commands to the target. When I get the fire command, I have to fire 3 rounds into the body of the target. Now, the course description does not specify that the shooter is supposed to keep moving while firing, but I think that's what's supposed to happen here. So when I get the fire command, I will be continuing to advance toward the target as I'm firing those 3 shots. So I do that same exact drill twice in a row, and then the last time I only fire 2 shots into the target as I'm moving. Now, there does not appear to be a time limit for these stages as the shooter is moving and shooting. Threat! Police officer, put the weapon down. Put the weapon down or I'll shoot. Drop the weapon. Fire! Threat! Police, put the weapon down. Put it down. Drop it. Put the weapon down or I'll fire. Threat! Police, put the weapon down. Put it down. Drop the weapon. Put your weapon down. Fire! And here's the tale of the target, folks. Of the 50 rounds that I fired in this Maine handgun qualification course, I had 1 shot from 25 yards that made it off the target. The other 49 are all in there, so based on the Maine qualification standard, this is a passing score, and I even made the instructor cut, which always makes me feel good. Folks, I don't know how this Maine course is going to compare with the other courses in this series when I plug it into my evaluation protocol, but I've got to tell you, this is one of the more difficult ones that I've fired. There is a lot in this course to take the shooter out of their comfort zone. There's a lot of shooting and moving. There's a lot of shooting around things. There are a lot of very tight time limits. You never have a situation in this course where you feel like you're just standing there and leisurely shooting at the target. There's always something going on to ramp up that stress level. So to those of you in Maine who use this course, bravo, this is a good course. I really like this one. This is one that you have to demonstrate proficiency with your firearm in order to fire a qualifying score on this course. And before we go, folks, here's one last look at today's challenger, my FS Ultra Rock Island Armory 10mm 1911 pistol. Performed very well out here today. I did run into one issue, and that was with the extended thumb safety. I had a tendency on some of these stages to bump that and accidentally re-engage it. It does go back into engagement very easily, and it's something to be aware of with these extended safeties. I may well swap that out at some point for a standard GI safety just to try to avoid having that problem with this pistol. And that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you order anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off anything you purchase from Optics Planet. See you next time, folks, and until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.